Welcome back to another episode of Search for a Guru. I'm Dynasty Mir, and today's topic is VOTEPS could not save Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams from losing. Now, Luther Campbell wrote an article, a recent article, and I'm going to post the link in the chat room. And the title of the article is Andrew Gillum Lost Because He Failed to Turn Out the Hood Vote. So before we dive in, I know a lot of you are asking, what is a VOTEP? A VOTEP is someone of African descent who only worships his or her ancestors through voting. They only acknowledge their ancestors once a year, and that's when it's time to vote. You'll usually hear VOTEPs making comments like, Black people need to vote because your ancestors died so you can have the right to vote. And if you don't vote, you are shaming your ancestors. They'll use shaming tactics like that. But these same VOTEPs will reject any type of form of ancestral worship, whether it be voodoo, Ifa, in exchange for white Jesus, the same white Jesus that was forced on our ancestors. So that's what a VOTEP is. And these VOTEPs, they try to guilt you into voting, again, by exploiting the ancestors. They show up once a year. You'll never hear from them. And again, they'll show up and they'll try to leverage or exploit the ancestors and guilting you to go vote. But what VOTEPs are failing to realize is that Black people aren't buying the dog and pony show anymore. Usually what happens with these VOTEPs, they bring in Oprah Winfrey and P. Diddy, for the dog and pony show to dance and twerk and play rap music. But one thing about VOTEPs, and they know it, and these candidates know it, these Black candidates know it, they never have a Black agenda. The Black agenda is, let's fly in Oprah and Puff Daddy and Jay-Z and Beyonce and have a rap concert so we could try to spark and convince Black people to vote. But it's not working anymore. And Luther Campbell brought that up in his article, and I'm going to put the link in the chat room. So the VOTEPs could not save Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams from losing because at the end of the day, there's no Black agenda on the ballot. And what Black people in the hood understand and what they know is that once these Black faces get into office, no matter what, the schools are going to suck and the affordable housing has dried up. So what's in it for the Black person in the hood outside of a free Jay-Z or Beyonce concert or a free Puff Daddy, P. Diddy concert? What's in it for Black people? For Black people in the hood? Again, because the schools are going to suck and there's no the affordable housing is dried up. So Black people in the hood are no longer falling for the okie doke. No longer falling for it. And people like Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams have turned into white liberals. They run these racially ambiguous campaigns. They turn into white liberals. And, and they think that this is the way, but they still fail miserably. Well, it was closer this time. It was close, but they still are going to lose. and rightfully so. Until you have a black agenda, an unapologetically black agenda, black people are not falling for the okie doke anymore. That's what's really going on here. That's what's really going on. And see, the thing that kills me about these VOTEPs, let's talk about voter suppression a little bit. If these VOTEPs put this same amount of energy into making these schools in the black hood worth of them as they do voter suppression, black people wouldn't have to look outside of the hood to send their kids to school. Because, a lot of these VOTEPs, they want to send their kids to, see, this is the thing about these VOTEPs. Stop the show. Let's break it down. A lot of these VOTEPs, educated, middle class, they want you to vote for these black politicians that have absolutely no black agenda. But then what they do, the minute they get a check or some money, they want to relocate to these white, red areas because the schools are better, instead of focusing on making the schools better in the hood. That's how they operate. That's how a lot of these VOTEPs operate. Once they get their good job, which is great, everybody has a right to have a great job and make decent amount of money. They take their money and they run to the racist, white, red neighborhoods, Republican neighborhoods with the good schools so they can send their kids there. And then they cry and whine about voter suppression and all this other stuff. And it's like, once you guys just put this same amount of energy and be this vocal about making these schools better. As you guys can see, Stacey Abrams is following court case after court case, fighting voter suppression. It's like, okay, once you put that same energy 364 days out of the year to make these schools halfway decent here in Atlanta. But they're not doing it. That's why these VOTEPs were so full of it. And people in the black hood, because at the end of the day, let's just keep it real. If you are black and poor in America, for the most part, it's a wrap. It's the reality. And the black hood is realizing that, and they know that these Andrew Gillum, Stacey Abrams, Barack Obama, and we let Barack Obama get away with it, that these are these are white liberals with blackface. And new possibilities. I see you in the chat room, brother, but we're tired of the trickle down politics. We're tired of the trickle down, like prison reform. Prison reform is important, but not all black people are criminals. Shit. Not all black people in the hood are criminals. And what's the cause of, what's the root cause of some of this criminality? Is lack of resources, education, jobs, and opportunities. But these so-called black politicians, that act like white liberals, and because Tariq's telling the truth, new possibilities is the truth. I don't agree with Tariq on everything, but he's telling the truth. But these so-called black politicians who are nothing more than white liberals, they don't talk about black economic empowerment. They're not going in on, making these black schools better. In fact, hold on. Let me pull up something. Hold on. They're not focusing on black Americans who are the most marginalized group in America. You got these black Keisha Lance Bottoms just last year was talking about turning Atlanta into a sanctuary city. Turning Atlanta into a sanctuary city. They're more concerned about illegal aliens coming from Central America than they are then they are Black Americans who are the most marginalized group in America. And if you study politics, okay, they have always used immigration, illegal immigrants to disenfranchise Black people, marginalize Black people. That's a fact. Look it up. I mean, they tried. But again, Black people in the hood aren't falling for the bullshit. And what these Black politicians are going to have to do is rally their base and start offering initiatives specifically for Black Americans, descendants of the slave trade. Exactly, Mika. They don't care. Again, they are white liberals in blackface. That's what they are. You know, they run these racially ambiguous campaigns, and they fail, and rightfully so. You know, at least the so-called HOTEPs and the too woke community, at least we stand for something. We see the bullshit and we're saying you're not getting our vote. Now, there might be some things on the ballot that, you know, might be worth voting for, but these politicians are so full of it. And the Black collective is starting to realize that, and they're not falling for it. Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, and Du Bois spoke against immigration. Well, Booker T. Washington actually was for Africans immigrating. You had the African Exclusionary Act, which he fought for. But all these other little fringe groups that have since Obama has placed above Black Americans. And the Gillum and the Stacey Abrams are doing the same thing. We don't have time for it. So, oh well, it's whatever. So yeah, but everybody, new possibilities. We could debate later on today. But this is just gonna be real short. But it's just sad that Black people have been reduced. These VOTEPS have been reduced to voting for Black people with no Black agenda. That's where we're at right now. That's the truth. They have been reduced to voting for Black people with no Black agenda, absolutely no Black agenda. Then they want to guilt you for not voting for the Black people with no Black agenda. And new possibilities, everything you posted, this is all just trickle down, flow down. Social justice orgs regularly fight for equal education every day. I mean, again, I'm not talking about for minorities. I'm talking about what is specifically in place for Black people, not people of color, not LGBTQ, not white women. I mean, what's in place specifically for Black people? I'm not worried about all these other fringe groups. So when we debate, don't bring on here, well, this social justice group is worried about, minorities and, the Black and Brown coalition. No, what's in place specifically for Black people, descendants of the slave trade? That's all I care about. That's all I care about. Here, email me sometime this afternoon. Sometime this afternoon we could debate. But just don't come with no vague, abstract, trickle down. This social justice group, social justice warriors, they want to get computers in all schools. No, what are they doing specifically for Black disenfranchised people? Don't give me no broad stroke, paint stroke. Just what are they doing specifically for Black people? That's all I want to. That's all I care about. I could care less about these fringe groups because these fringe groups could care less about us, and that's real. And Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams is just another examples of how VOTEPS cannot save them from losing. And they're going to continue to take this L until they have a specific Black agenda. Again, specific Black agenda, and we deserve it. And then I don't want to hear the excuses, well, they can't because they're not going to get votes and they can't do that. It is. They had specific agendas for illegal immigrants. They were trying to turn it into a sanctuary city. You know, they had it for the LGBTQ community. So you need to have specific initiatives for Black people, descendants of the slave trade, period. And don't give me, well, you might offend the other groups. They might not vote for Andrew Gillum or Stacey Abrams. Well, if that's the case, that makes them no different from the white racists on the right. It makes them no different. So again, if we have Black candidates that have to be racially ambiguous and act like white liberals, then they don't deserve our vote. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Everyone, thank you for joining. Make sure you go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Peace.